questions. I'll just look at the chat first. Prof. Tegan Bristow says, thanks, Sipho. I know the work of Riot, inspired by their long development process to make it right. Can you give us a time frame generally for how long?
The Riot technology took about 3 years of development, and now we are actually at the pilot stage. We are rolling out the networks at the Oliven. That's one of the areas that we're actually putting the networks to ensure that we also get the buy-in from the communities. So it has taken 3 years. Now it's actually at the pilot stage, hoping that after this, it will be on a full-scale commercialization.
Right, thank you very much. It's an interesting question because it can sometimes take so long, isn't it?
Yeah, this technology, they take longer to get ready for consumption by the communities. But we have seen a lot of developments due to new technologies that are coming in place. Now, like Fiber Point has taken over 1.5 years, and also is being rolled out in some of the communities, Soweto, Chabavu, Soshanguve, trying to demonstrate the viability of the technology as well as the business model in place. But yeah, it takes longer, so it requires us also to be patient when we're working on these technologies.
Right. Thank you. And thank you for the work that Tia is doing.
Thank you so much.
You do. Are there other questions? Here is something in the chat. Let's see who it is. It's Sean Earl Harris. He says, please can you communicate with me on the content detection system from Stellenbosch University, as I know of detection companies that is working with legal entities where they take the infringer to court.
Yeah, so the Custos Technologies is using blockchain technologies with watermark, ensuring that also they have embedded the bounties, ensuring that we have the cryptocurrencies in there. So in the value chain of getting of transacting or getting your film, if we talk about film, moved from one stage to the other, there are technologies, they ensure that they embed those cryptocurrencies and ensure that there's the technology, also the work as it moves, it can be traced, and at the point of the leaks, it can be identified easily. So anyone who leaks your work, your artwork, you can identify exactly who was the initial infringer. It doesn't have to be a lot of transactions that are happening. Once there's a leak, also it shows case to the current owner that someone who's holding your artwork has actually leaked your art. So you can actually stop that immediately. So it has been used by a number of universities to protect their work in terms of the educational content. It can also protect the enterprise documentation. It can also be used to protect your film. So as you have said, I've indicated that around 200 million copies has been protected by this technology already.
Right, thank you very much. Any other questions for Sipho? I think our audience has had such a lot to take in that they really have can't think at this stage. But I think you can always interact with us on social media, give your comments on the presentations, further questions that you have, we will relay them. And of course, with the survey that you can complete after this discussion forum, you can also give us your thoughts. There is a link in the chat for that. Let's see. As you said, it's important to have communities involved in your technologies. Do you have programs to get communities involved? How do you reach out to them? And this is from Jessica from the Netherlands Embassy.
So Technology Innovation Agents has a program called Grassroots Innovation, which reach out to these communities, rural communities, to look out for innovations that are happening in there and also stimulate innovation activity in those regions. So they usually run, they have calls for proposals and they reach out to those areas to actually identify some of the innovations that are happening in there. It's one way of doing that. And also communicating with that in terms of rolling out the technology is also dependent on our investees, and also ensuring that they get down to the people, understand their challenges, which speaks back to the issue of listening to the voice of the customer when developing any technology. So before the technology is even done or the development has been completed, it's important that our investees and us involved, we go to those communications, they are aware of what we are doing. Also, if you see what we have done with the fiber point technology, we have involved a lot of communities in there. And also the network that is being rolled out in those communication communities is run by the people from those communities. Like in Jabav, we have some of the micro ISPs that has been trained by our investees, and they are incubated by our investees to ensure that they run the networks. They can also manage the networks on their own in rolling out those networks in their communities. So that's one of the strategies that we've been putting in place.
Right. Very interesting. Right, let's we're now into the section which is on a Q&A and discussion. So for one thing, we can return to some of the questions. I don't know if James McCarthy is back in the audience. No? Right. I think this is a good time to for the audience to have a chance. If you can introduce yourself in terms of your interest in this discussion forum and how it relates to the themes that we've been addressing. Well, let's start with Sean. He put, he introduced himself in the chat.
Thank you, ma'am. Excuse me and for not introducing myself earlier. I am a freelance photojournalist who's been in South Africa since '94. I took an image of Nelson Mandela that was used for his funeral. It was the most used image of Nelson Mandela and the most abused image of Nelson Mandela. There's over 90 million unauthorized uses. I've been defending my copyrights in the High Court now for the last 5 years. And because of the legal system and other disadvantaged hurdles that one experiences in South Africa, it's been an outstanding learning curve, not only in copyrights, but also right the way through how we as creatives need to understand and know the full copyright ambit, and especially now as the system is trying to push in the fair use concept, which will really disempower every single creative in South Africa if the fair use mandate does come in. So that is one thing that we need to look out for as in creatives. And in my portfolio, I am the spokesperson who represents the creative community in the deliberation of the Copyright Amendment Bill and the new mandates that the government is trying to bring in. And in that same sense, this has brought me to this space because of the many different ways that copyright is deemed to be more perfect, as in your work has that standard contract and the technology that is involved, as in the new future technological advances that all creatives can make advantage of. And what I'm seeing that communities can be staked with an NFT or a DAO, and the whole community can benefit from the proceeds from each of those tokens. Now, this is the plan of looking at, again, the new technologies that we have and collaborating with as many different like-minded individuals around one project or projects that will benefit the communities. South Africa is a very unlevel field in many communities. I'm in the Free State, no water for the last 16 years. You can check it out. The village is called Sorella in the Kwakwa, and that's a state of life. We are demanding water and other aspects, but then again, we have to do it ourselves. We believe through the proceeds of NFTs that we can do our own boreholes and we can start moving in this aspect. I thank you for your time, but what I'm here for is to look at and how the new technologies are being implemented within the institutions of the higher knowledgeable individuals who are the teachers and the way showers of the future communities in South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sean Earl Harris. That is fascinating. Whisper Maisiri, you had a question for Prof. Marwala. Would you like to ask your question for people who are perhaps able to respond to you? You are muted, so you would have to unmute yourself. Yeah, unfortunately, she's not in communication at the moment, probably having difficulties with the technology. Can we have a representative of the DSI to give us a comment? Just introduce yourself. Just so that we know who's in the audience. DSI is Department of Science and Innovation. And we have someone from the multilateral division of the international relations at the DSI. Ms. Lindiwe Gama, can I just ask you to introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, colleagues, and good afternoon, Ms. Yancy. You just caught me off guard. I thought there was a representative that you are referring to. And yes, I am Lindiwe Gama from the Department of Science and Innovation. What an interesting topic. It was an eye-opener to most of us. And of course, yes, as the DSI, we support the work that is done by TIA and the other entities. And I was so glad to hear that there's so much work that is done within TIA. And yeah, the presentations that were made were also good. I think I will just talk from that end because you just caught me off guard. I had not prepared anything as such to really respond. But I think it was an interesting topic, and I really appreciate the work that is done by the NSTF to always keep us on our toes, discuss the current issues, and so that we also know as policymakers how to move and what to do. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lindiwe, and thank you for your nice words, even though I've caught you off guard. I want to say, to add to that, that Lindiwe's division works with the UN international themes, or the UNESCO international themes, and they manage the communication with UNESCO in terms of science and technology. So they have often past collaborated with us in celebrating the international themes for years, particular years. The last one was the International Year of the Periodic Table. I think this is a bit of a difficult topic for you guys to support as such, because it brings art and science and technology together. But it is certainly relevant, as you see with the links that we are establishing here, among all kinds of disciplines and backgrounds of speakers. Okay, any other comments? Questions? No? Want to look back so that I can summarize. This was certainly very interesting and informative. Oh, I do want to ask you, speakers who are present here, about blockchain and cryptocurrencies and all that kind of technology. It is apparently extremely energy intensive. And so the carbon footprint has been estimated as absolutely enormous. Have you had thoughts on that? Do you want to comment on it? Yes, Sean Earl.
Thank you, Denise. And again, thank you, Professor, and everyone that is here in the room. It's a great time for listening and learning daily. But especially here, when I'm in this, to see the level of our advancement in the technologies, especially through TISA and the other things that's happening. Now, there are projects which are in process, and I had spoken to the renewable energy department or renewable energy sector in Cape Town last week, where there is a number of projects which are within the blockchain, and they're giving information out in ways that if the token is attached to the process of, this is hydrogen power, that as you look at Anglo-American and other agencies in South Africa now explaining that this is a possible way of the future of alleviating some of our power and energy problems. And this is the reason why that Anglo-American are putting many billions of rands into it, as you see. Now, this individual that I've communicating with, he reckons that all cities and towns by the sea can generate a hydro power from the hydrogen and the sea wave, or the sea process. He has a prototype, it has been peer reviewed, and I did send it down to, but these are ways to combat the or one of the ways. The other ways are the solar and hydro solar energy panels, which other individuals have proposed to me of bringing into South Africa to again offset the power that is required or that will be taken up when we take more participation in the technological sphere. So we need to look at that. Also, there are ways and different ways of communicating through the imagery, as in the new way of communicating is not through the frequency or the normal frequencies we are at the moment. We're going to be, or we are already communicating through the visual, the fractal frequency of fractal imagery being transmitted in a unbound range, and no one has got control of. There are companies who have already done this also, which will offset the energy and how we communicate into the futures. Now, there are a lot of programs out there, and the good thing about the blockchain is everyone's putting their head together to look at ways that we can overcome some of these problems that we face now, and we will perhaps face into the future. I thank you.
How fascinating. Thank you very much. We wouldn't know about all that going on. It is one of those things that one assumes wouldn't be happening. And I'm so pleased to hear that people are thinking about it and trying to solve this problem. Avril Joffe, you had your hand up. Are you still there?
Yes, hello. Hello, Yancy. Lovely to see you. Interesting place to see you again. I just wanted to say that, you know, we at the, sorry, I'm not putting my video on. I've just had eye surgery. So, but I'm part of the Cultural Policy and Management Department at the Wits School of Arts. And we teach programs and have students working in digital technologies in relation to the culture and creative economy. And so I just wanted to say how wonderful it is to have this initial start of the conversation. And I really would hope that we can continue this going forward, since these questions of science and technology are quite complex in the field of the creative sector. And our students increasingly want to understand it more deeply and protect themselves in the digital world, in the digital field, and also to be able to earn money in the digital realm. So I would hope that we can continue these conversations, and I just wanted to express my gratitude for having for this initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Avril. Good to see you. And indeed, it would be good to have some kind of follow-up where we can get together, maybe join Tegan Bristow or the Fakugezi Festival or something. Right. Sipho Dekweni says, thank you for the opportunity, colleagues. Unfortunately, I have to leave. That was very much appreciated. I think we have answered some of the other questions. Is James McCarthy back? No, we still can't ask our questions of him, of them. Tegan says, happily, Yancy, I will introduce you to the new team to get it programmed in. On that note, I also just want to tell you that we've got a monthly NSTF newsletter, and that is free of charge to subscribe to. but we also are welcome to send us some news on what is happening in the interface of creative industry and science and technology, and we'll post it in the newsletter this year. The theme was actually last year's theme, but it doesn't matter. We celebrate it this year, of course, as well. So we will welcome your contributions to the NSTF e-newsletter. Go to the website, it's nstf.org.za. I found it very interesting that Prof. Marwala said that data is the new oil. We're having a war fought in Ukraine, presumably because of interests in oil, among other motivations. So let's work on our data. We don't have oil, but we do have data, and we must just get our act together for that. Prof. Marwala also referred to Asimov, who wrote an interesting article on creativity in 1959. He was, of course, also a science fiction writer. So he created realities in his mind of what the future would look like. And there's some fascinating things in what he's written. I've read a bit about it. And for example, he envisaged a future where you can time travel. And he referred to the pocket computer. And everybody had their pocket computer with them wherever they went, and could stay in touch with each other. Now, of course, we've got a pocket computer now. And it is amazing that he predicted that in about the 1930s. Oh, I've got quite a storm going on here where I am. Right, so if there are no further questions or comments, then I can just ask the speakers if they want to say any closing words. Oh, there is Whisper Maisiri. Let's have Whisper first.
Well, thank you very much with the interesting program that we are following. I just want to make a comment and also maybe pose a question. Prof. Chilitz, I think he was going to answer this question better for me because it came when he was speaking. My comment first is, I think when it comes to the issues of 4IR, we really need to emphasize the issue of being contextual. If we talk of technologies that don't solve South African problems, I don't think there's need of even talking about it. We have our own unique problems around. So in a way, I feel what will help us is try to, yes, we need to learn from others, but if we can't innovate technologies to solve our real African problems, then to me, it's not relevant. I think I can just emphasize on that. At least I'm happy to hear people who are talking of working with communities, trying to engage the communities as they try to bring in the issue of technology. Then I have a question. The question basically is on the human capital development. I think on the recommendations that the Commission has brought, human capital development is one of the first one that Prof mentioned when he was speaking. And my question comes, I feel like we are concentrating, like if we look at the skills requirement pyramid, where we need professionals, technical people, and artisans, people who can actually do things. I feel our education system, even at tertiary level, it's more on we are teaching people more of theory, not on the practical side. If we look, those who are who know about the diploma programs, maybe in the engineering field, the work-based learning, workplace-based learning is slowly dying. Years, people used to take years in the industry. Now, I think with the new diploma, I think it's even less than 6 months if they have not even scratched it. So my question is, how does that impact our competitiveness in adopting or in the playground of the fourth industrial revolution, where on our pyramid must supposed to go like this, where we have professionals, technicians, and artisans. But it's more like this now, where we have training more people who are more theoretical and less practical based people. And we might not see it now, but I feel in the few years we are going to see a skills gap where we have more people with the theoretical knowledge, but who cannot do things. So how does that going to impact our competitiveness in the fourth industrial revolution space? That's my question.
Interesting question, Whisper. Thank you very much. Would you like to answer that, Tegan? Are you still there? No? Okay, I would like to respond to that, not that I'm an expert, but I think that the strange thing about the era in which we're living is that those things come together, that you need high order skills in order to get the most out of the fourth industrial revolution. And I would say in order for us and our economy to leapfrog and become an advanced, developed economy. But you are quite right that the practical skills are always still extremely important, and that we can't do without practical skills. Where these also come together is, for example, with computer technicians who work not only with the software and the hardware, I mean, not just for the hardware, but the software and the data as well. And of course, with IT engineers, there is so much that people can learn on all levels, and it is not just the highly theoretical. But I take your point, and I agree that we concentrate much too much on the academic and the theoretical, and not enough on the practical.
Yeah, just also to follow up on that, I just want to say, you see, even we have a problem now. I think it's how the society is being coined, where everyone, there is a high influx for people to rush into the universities and do degrees. And everyone wants to be there. No one, if you talk maybe someone to be a technician or whatever, they don't want. But I believe that to be successful in the fourth industrial revolution, we actually also need people who do things. So there must be a balance. We must strike a balance in this. Even if you look at our TVET, how they train, I visited some. Yes, that's where most of the hands-on must be done, but it's more theoretical. It's how the society is being coined. But soon and very soon, I feel we might run into a problem. Even the fourth industrial revolution, we need people who can actually work with these technologies, who understand them, who can actually apply them. That's my view. Thank you very much.
No, exactly. I absolutely agree with you. The other thing is we need artists. You know, we don't just need artists in relation to the fourth industrial revolution or in terms of technological advancement. We need artists for various reasons. I mean, one reason is that the expression of human beings. And so we cannot just deny that we are emotional, cultural, and spiritual human beings. We are just human beings in relation to machines.
True, thank you.
Thank you, Whisper. Sean Earl, got your hand up.
Thank you, Janice. Thank you, Whisper, for those points, because unless we have that balance of really bringing in the skills or those manual human capacitors that would benefit our communities. All the future technology and the AI is nothing that won't, is something that could be put into that position that won't benefit us. And that is perhaps some people's direction that they would like to see it. But the other way that we see it is this. When the creatives and all those creatives of the artists and those within the societies of the past were those who led or propelled the communities in different directions. Now, within South Africa, Africa, the world, we have the creatives have a different way of expression and propelling the community in positive ways. Each of our projects is looking at ways, especially now, of how these digital assets can propel our communities on the ground in a better way. Everyone is explaining on the ground, we don't have the finance. Now, if I'm saying, or when I'm saying that this NFT will be, the proceeds from it will go straight to the community in this project. There are already examples of this. And even the most current one would be how it is assisting all those who want to leave Ukraine. How the NFTs are generating large sums for the relief and. But again, what we're looking here within the South African context is let's generate this art. Let's put it up there where all can see it. And as you may know, is that a lot of creatives out there don't get the space to go and exhibit their art. And now through the digital metaverse, we can do this. Not only that, it's a worldwide universal exhibition where everyone can buy one piece, which is unique, and it will be never ever copied. And because of the smart contract, you are a perpetual, and your family and etc. are perpetual receiver of the royalties, of the resale of that cryptocurrency or the village. And again, this is the whole concept. Let's tie the DAO or the token to sustainable projects on the ground, where it will create labor, as in we need this done, or we need the skills. And this is where, again, the technology, the creatives, and those within the labor who can now get up and do it because there will be going to be a finance available. I thank you.
Thanks again, Sean.
Oh.
Yes. Tato Mutangu. No? Oops. I think his microphone is just on. There is a comment in the chat box. Angela James says, we do need to recognize STEAM and its place in education, that is STEM with art included. There are many organizations, STEAM organizations, and persons engaged in this. How can we have a presentation and a space to collate all the initiatives and organizations with the projects and programs for children from grade 3 to tertiary, including community organizations? We have much to work with, and we can work with all this, bringing all these aspects together. Well, I think this is a brilliant idea. We are considering having a discussion forum on aspects of STEM education later this year. And it might be useful to actually talk about STEAM at that occasion and include it in the agenda. Does anyone want to react to that? Make suggestions of how we can get all that information together, all that data about initiatives and organizations for STEAM education from grade 3 to tertiary education. Well, thank you for that question, Angela, and we'll certainly keep that in mind. And
Jancy, can I respond?
Yes, please.
Okay, thank you. And I'm sure I'm blown by the presentations that are taking place. There's so much to learn. Oosh. Okay, so we have started a mini group. I'm based at UKZN, School of Education. And we have started a mini group and we've called ourselves STEAMers. There are some local and also some international people involved in this. And we have had a few sessions where we're sharing the ideas and the programs. And also there's like a maths art competition that is taking place. And you must see the work that the children are doing. And I'm just saying, you know, why are we divorcing that from what is actually happening here in the techno field? And yet it actually starts with the children right at the lower level. There's Maker Magic that is also taking place. And I mean, there are so many different types of organizations. And one of the things that we were thinking about is, well, we need to, in the South African front, how do we need to actually get together as STEAMers. And yes, people can say, oh, you shouldn't be specializing yourself from others. No, but actually it's so inclusive of everything that is being presented here. And the A in STEM is essentially important. And I heard what was mentioned just now by the lecturer from Wits. I actually took her name down now and I can't find her on my page, but it's somewhere on my page. But, you know, so we were actually thinking maybe we should become a part of SASTA. But there needs to be a recognized type of organization in South Africa so that everybody linked to this can link up. Thank you.
Fantastic. That sounds very exciting indeed. Yes, just off the top of my head, there's been a lot of talk in education about the value of modeling. And so modeling is applicable to all subjects across the board. It's usually understood to be mathematical modeling, but it can also mean modeling in other ways. So making representations of the world, a system, an object. And this is, I think, has huge potential and might actually be the same as STEAM. It depends on the kind of form that it is given at schools. But I think teachers would need a lot of guidance with the implementation of STEAM. It's a brilliant idea, but how do you put it into the form of a curriculum? So I would love to follow your conversations in future. And certainly there has to be a way to get people together that have this as an interest and want to influence the education system to greater acceptance of STEAM. So thank you very much, Angela James. Any other comments? There has been so much discussed at this discussion forum. I think it really, the potential in the topic has been realized very thoroughly. We will be having the recordings on our website, nstf.org.za, and we will have the proceedings as well. We have a professional scribe in the audience who is taking notes, and we will be issuing a media release on the issues that were raised. This is Tamsin Oxford, who is in the audience taking notes for that purpose. Right, there's Angela James's email address for you. Johan Venter says, thank you for everybody for the valuable input and discussions. And with that, I would like to close this discussion forum and pronounce it successful and thought-provoking and informative. And I wish you all the best in these strange times that we live in. And I hope to see you on another platform soon. Goodbye.